Does anybody really know what time it is? Well, if you have ADHD, probably a lot of the time the answer is no. Hi, I'm Janine Van Stee, ADHD life coach. Today we're going to talk about time blindness and time horizons and how our ADHD brains function differently than the neurotypical brain when it comes to time. We're going to talk about what time blindness is, how it affects people with ADHD, and also talk about time horizons and how that affects us as well. And at the end, I'll throw in a few strategies for you that you can try out. Okay, so what is time blindness? Time blindness is essentially a difficult time perceiving and estimating time. Some examples that you might recognize in yourself or in other people that you love who have ADHD are always being late, or maybe always being really early because we might overcompensate because we know that we're always late. Or it could be that we can't figure out how long something's going to take, estimating how much time something is going to take. I'm notorious for this. I can schedule myself an hour to get like 7 things done, and then it's like, why am I not getting it done? Because an hour wasn't enough. It was a major underestimate, which is what we tend to do. We tend to underestimate how long everything is going to take, and then we're surprised when it takes longer. So, like, my first little tip would be, when you estimate how long something is going to take, multiply it by like 3. You're probably closer, because in our minds, it doesn't seem like it's going to take that long. For our neurotypical people out there, think about a time where you felt like time passed really fast or passed really slowly. The time didn't change, but it's how you perceived it. Now put yourself in an ADHD brain where it's always kind of like that. We never really have a clear perception of time and time passage. Now, this is not everybody with ADHD, but it's really common with people with ADHD because, we have focus problems and our brains just don't focus on time passage. This can lead to a lot of really pretty major problems, because if you're late all the time, people aren't going to say, oh, they have ADHD, have time blindness, and they're late. They're going to say you're irresponsible or unreliable. And at work, if you're late on projects or late to work, you could get fired. Or if you say, yeah, I can have that done in a couple of days, and then you underestimate how long it's going to take you and you don't get it done, that can cause a whole nother set of problems. And let's just touch on hyperfocus. When we get into hyperfocus, we don't recognize time passing hardly at all. We've been in hyperfocus for 4 hours and we think 5 minutes have passed. Another thing that's attached to time blindness is procrastination because of something called the time horizon. So a time horizon is the point in the future where you start to see things as real rather than just an abstract idea. Say 3 months from now, I'm giving a party. I know I'm giving the party. It's on the calendar, but it's still very abstract to me because it's so far ahead that it doesn't feel real to me. So when it becomes real, it's usually like a little bit later than it really should have become real, and now I'm running behind. Neurotypical people tend to have time horizons that can go out for months, like a couple of months, where things become urgent enough or real enough for them to feel like they need to initiate tasks that are associated with them. With ADHD, often our time horizon creeps right up on us, and all of a sudden the event is there, and you have not recognized it as being part of your reality yet. So people with ADHD may have a time horizon as short as days or a couple of weeks. So let's go back to that party. I have a party coming up in 3 months. That's too abstract for me. I'm not going to think about it. So I don't have that timeline as urgent. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks before the party, I realize I haven't done anything. It's hit my time horizon and now it's real. Well, that's kind of a time crunch for me, especially when you've got all the other issues that go along with ADHD, motivation, and all of that stuff. So when your time horizon hits, oftentimes it's delayed as compared to our neurotypical peers, which is why ADHD folks have a really hard time planning anything because it's just too abstract to plan yet. So it also happens with excitement. Have you guys ever noticed that you say you're excited about an event coming up because, you should be. excited, but you don't have like a butterfly feeling or like I'm really excited feeling. You're just like, yeah, that's going to be good, right? Because it's too abstract to get excited about. For instance, my daughter's getting married this fall. I'm excited about it. I mean, I'm looking forward to it, but I don't feel the excitement. I don't get anticipation with that. I probably won't get the anticipation and excitement until maybe even the day before the wedding. Well, that causes problems for a lot of people. So, because excitement can drive you, right? But if your excitement doesn't even kick in until right before the event, not much drive. So, taking into account the fact that you have a difficult time perceiving how much time has passed, how much time it's going to take to do something, and when to start a task, that short time horizon is very harmful to us in a lot of ways. So what do we do about it? I have some tips for you right after I remind you, if you're enjoying this content, to like and subscribe. What can we do? So I have a few tips for you that you can try out. First of all, create false deadlines. I know because your brain knows what the real deadline is, but if it's in your calendar several times before your time horizon kicks in, you might be able to kick your time horizon in sooner, or at least parts of it. So like if you were to say, I need to get this part done for the party, then that part might hit your time horizon sooner, and then you can get that part done. And then the next part, and as soon as it hits your time horizon, you can get it done. If you have those deadlines and you have them in a calendar and you have them in front of you, it helps to bring that time horizon a little further out, which sounds kind of backwards because you would think you would want it closer in, but you really want it further out. You want your time horizon to be way out there so that you can get things done way in advance. Yeah. So if you have a short time horizon, you're going to probably want to set things for short periods of time in your calendar. So like every 2 weeks, you probably want to give yourself a task to do so that when your time horizon for the party actually kicks in, you've already met the timelines that you've set for yourself for certain activities. So that's my first tip. Put it in your calendar multiple times so that you know that this is coming up. It keeps that time visible. Speaking of keeping time visible, let's talk about that. This is my second tip. My second tip is buy a watch. I know people don't wear watches unless they wear, these kinds of watches, which I do. Aside from having a watch that you can look at any time, you also should have a clock in every room. Yes, every room, so that you can see time passing on the wall right in front of you, and you can recognize that. Use an analog, use a digital, use whatever works best for you, but have a clock in every room. Here's where the argument's going to come in, but I have my phone. I can just look at my phone. What happens when you look at your phone and you're like, what time is it? Oh, look at this cute TikTok. Oh my gosh. Oh, I just want to send this to somebody. And here we are still 20 minutes later, and all we were trying to do is check the time, right? Because we're so easily distracted and we don't have a great perception of time. We're thinking it's just a couple of seconds and I'll be right back to what I'm doing, but really it's 20 minutes and you've been completely distracted. Don't use your phone for time. If it's the only way you can look at time, go ahead, but I'm telling you, it's usually a rabbit hole. So get a watch, get a clock in every room. That's my second tip. My third tip, we have a really hard time estimating how much time it will take us to do something. But I'll tell you one thing that I know how long it takes me, and that is unloading the dishwasher. Why do I know that? Because I race my coffee pot every time I put on a cup of coffee, I start my coffee, and I start unloading the dishwasher, and I try to get the dishwasher unloaded before the coffee maker is done. So I know, not in minutes, but I know that it takes me about as long as it takes me to make a cup of coffee as it does to unload the dishwasher. So my tip is this: collect some data. Start writing down how long things take for you. or paying attention to how long things take for you to do. People often assume that if you've done it before, you have a pretty good idea of how long it took you. But because we aren't paying attention to time most of the time anyway, we have no idea how long it took us unless we actually note it. So start noting it. Start paying attention. I started folding the laundry at this time. I ended folding laundry at this time. How long did that take me? And then write it down. By creating a list of things that you do on a regular basis and saying how much time it takes you to do those things, it can help you to plan doing those things better. It takes a little time. But start collecting that data, and you might be surprised at how much easier it is for you to schedule your time based on how long it actually took you, not on how long you're guesstimating, because your guesstimations are very rarely correct, but based on previous data, you know that this thing takes you about this long. Then you can actually plan something that might be within the realms of realistic. So that's my third tip. My fourth and final tip is give yourself some grace. It isn't easy. It's not something that comes to us intuitively. It's something that we have to work on and really pay attention to. So give yourself some grace if you are late, or if you don't get all the way through the project in the time that you thought you would get through it. Does it mean that the consequence of those misjudgments are going to go away? No. But you can be kind to yourself. So if you are on time and you estimate something correctly, celebrate that, because that's an accomplishment. If you don't plan until the last minute and you wait until it's very urgent, be kind to yourself. Negative self-talk never helps us. It's always a hindrance. Think of it this way. If you had a friend that you knew who struggles with time awareness and time blindness, how would you respond to them in a moment where their time blindness caused them to have some issues? Treat yourself that way. Be kind. So that's what we have today for you on time blindness and time horizons, which I just recently found out about time horizons, and I find them to be very interesting because it makes so much sense. Yes, it's like it's so abstract until all of a sudden it's very real. So give my tips a try. Give yourself some grace. If you love my content, or even if you just like it, hit that subscribe button. It helps a lot. And we'll see you next time.